Wakey, wakey, the Kellogg's football camps are here, all over the country. It's game on. Learn new skills, make new friends, and have loads of fun at your local clubs. Grab your boots for a summer of football at the Kellogg's football camps. Parents, buy a promotional pack of Cocoa Pops, Rice Krispies and cornflakes before the end of June to claim a free day. Welcome to the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the Liverpool player and the Scotland captain, Andy Robertson. Before we do that, of course, we need to do some of your shout-outs and your messages, so we'll get into those in just a second. I'm sure you've heard the adverts for the amazing Kellogg's football camps. So, for those of you who get yourself signed up to the Kellogg's football camps, let me know by sending an email to footballforkidspodcast@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to give as many of you who have signed up a shout out on the podcast. The link for the Kellogg's football camps is in the description of this episode. Right then, let's get into the shout-outs. The first one says, "Hello, I'm hoping I'm your furthest away fan. My name is Harry and I live in New Zealand." Well, Harry, you must be one of the furthest away at least, because New Zealand is a very long way from England. Harry says, "I love your podcast and I listen to it every night before bed with my dad. I play striker for my team, called Wilkinson, named after our White Ferns hero from the 2023 World Cup. My favourite Premier League team is Manchester City and my favourite player is Phil Foden. Can you please do an episode on one of the Kiwi players in the league, Chris Wood or Winston Reid? Thanks again for such a great podcast." And that is from Harry. Well, Harry, in New Zealand, a massive, humongous, enormous, gigantic shout out to you. Thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you for taking the time to send me a message. Also, a massive shout out to Fred Hutchinson, who this year, in his first season, got Manager's Player of the Year for his team, Seymour Villa Under-11's Yellows. Well, a well done to you, Fred, and thank you so much for being a listener of the podcast. Also, a big shout out to everybody who's been leaving their 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the other places. A couple of the Apple Podcast recent ones are from Cousin Grace, which says 5 stars. "Hi Darren, I love your podcast. Please can you do a shout out to Charlie, my cousin? He plays for Ashton Underhill and loves Ronaldo and loves Man City and Arsenal. He's 7 and loves your podcast too." Well, there you go. A massive shout out to you. And lastly, another 5-star review comes from Harry Bow, which says, "Please do an episode on Cole Palmer, part 2. And that's from Harrison, who is apparently aged 99. I'm not sure if I believe you, Harrison. However, we have done an episode on Cole Palmer, or should I say Cold Palmer, and we will do one on him again in the future. Don't you worry. Right then, let's get into it, shall we? About the absolutely brilliant Andy Robertson. Andrew Henry Robertson was born on the 11th of March in 1994 in Glasgow, Scotland. Andy grew up as a Celtic fan and was a keen footballer from a young age. His dad was big on football as well, and it's probably where his love and passion for the beautiful game came from. Andy, who was a proud Scotsman, used to look up to players in the Scottish team like John Collins, the Hibs, Celtic, Monaco, Everton and Fulham player. But as he was an enormous Celtic fan, he loved the likes of Henrik Larsson, a proper Celtic legend, who was also pretty awesome for Barcelona as well. Andy Robertson played football throughout his school years, and he was even the captain of the school football team. He was clearly showing leadership abilities from a very early age. It's also reported that he was a truly talented golfer and was even the junior captain of his golf club in Glasgow. When Andy was young, he played football with the Celtic youth team, the team that he had supported since a youngster. It was an enormous moment for him. Andy loved being a part of the academy at Celtic, as he got to do really cool things, like be a ball boy at the matches, and he remembers some of those matches ever so well. In particular, the sort of games where AC Milan would come to Celtic, or Barcelona, or Manchester United. These were the times when he could see some of the biggest superstars in world football from just a few feet away. Inspirational stuff for a young, aspiring Scottish footballer. However, it wasn't the fairy tale ending that he and his friends and family wanted so much. Andy was brought into the office and was told by the club that they would be releasing him. His height and his physical abilities at the time were not matching what they needed, and they had to let him go. This was a seriously tough time for Andy, who was still at school and was now left without a football club and the school holidays. But not only that, he'd been released from the club which he supported. It was a truly brutal moment. However, Andy was a special player. Celtic hadn't really given him the opportunity to grow and fill out to reach his physical prime. But another club knew about him, and they wanted him to join them. And that club was the Scottish club Queen's Park. After the summer holidays, Andy went down to Queen's Park for a session, and he absolutely loved it. He also knew a few of the other players, which helped him settle in and make him enjoy himself even more. Andy was training with the youth team at Queen's Park and doing well. And then one summer holidays, when he was a teenager, he was on holiday in Malio with a load of his friends, and he got a call from one of the big gaffers to say, "Andy, I want you to train with the first team." Andy came back from his lads' holiday in Malio and was on fire, impressing all the coaching staff and showing them what a class act he was. When Andy was playing at Queen's Park, he wasn't earning a lot of money. He could just about cover his petrol, and he really needed some other funds to keep him going. He ended up working as part of the kit team for the men's Scottish national side, and was responsible for making sure that the team had the right crisp, clean kits at all times. It was another inspirational moment for him, as he surely would have been wondering whether one day he would be wearing that kit. More on that in a short while. From Queen's Park, Andy moved to another Scottish club called Dundee United. Andy was getting better and better all the time, because he was just so dedicated and he just worked so very hard. He had reached his full height by this point and was now 5'10" and playing in a very defensive position. However, this didn't stop him from scoring some absolute crackers. One day, when Dundee United were playing Motherwell, Andy ran the whole half of his pitch and then scored a screamer 22 yards out, sending the Dundee fans completely and utterly bonkers. What a player they had on their hands. Andy spent a season with the club, and the word was getting about how good this young Scottish lad was. And this was when Premier League side Hull picked him up for just under £3 million. Andy was class at Hull, showing proper leadership on the pitch, making match-saving tackles, and even scored the odd goal. You could say his career really took off in 2017, when Liverpool Football Club snapped him up for around £8 million. His debut for Liverpool was a sensational one, and he even went on to win the Man of the Match award. Not a bad debut at a club the size of Liverpool. Andy Robertson was on fire, and his name was being spoken about all across the country and across the footballing world. Andy was doing very well with Liverpool. In fact, so well that when Liverpool made it to the Champions League final in 2019 against Tottenham Hotspurs, he was selected to play the full 90 minutes. Liverpool won that game, and Andy Roberts became the first Scottish player to win that cup since a man called Paul Lambert did it with Borussia Dortmund in 1997. Another huge achievement for Super Andy Robertson. Andy has now played over 200 games for Liverpool, winning the Premier League, the Champions League, the FA Cup, the League Cup, the Club World Cup, and the hearts of the Liverpool fans all across the world. Apart from his incredible club career and his journey from Scottish football to lifting the Champions League trophy, he has also been remarkable playing for his country of Scotland. Andy has been proudly wearing the Scottish jersey since the under-21s days in 2013. He's impressed the managers that he's played for and has become known as a player who isn't just a good leader on the football pitch and isn't just a good footballer, but is somebody who gets the job done. He is what is known as a no-nonsense player. And because of this, in 2018, he was appointed as the Scotland skipper. Yet another enormous achievement for the great Andy Robertson. Andy led Scotland to the Euro 2020 tournament, which was Scotland's first major competition in years. He's now the captain of the squad in the Euro 2024 tournament. So, from being let go from his boyhood club to making his way through the Scottish leagues to the Premier League, winning the Champions League and being the captain of his country, Andy Robertson is an inspiration and somebody to look up to. So remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about Football for Kids. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitchside, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And remember that Kellogg's have amazing football camps taking place throughout the school summer holidays all across the country. In fact, they're in 73 different locations across the UK. The camps are for 5 to 15-year-olds and are in partnership with the EFL, Manchester City, Celtic and Rangers with FA-approved coaches. To sign up today, grab a promotional pack of Kellogg's cereal, find the camp code and redeem a free place at www.kellogsfc.com. Terms and conditions apply.